Right, welcome everybody to the Tricks of the Trade stage here at the Home Building and Renovating Show, and welcome back to some faces that I saw earlier this morning. My name is Dave Finnegan. I am a builder and carpenter from the West Midlands, 20 plus years experience, and I'm going to share with you today some of my knowledge, some of my tricks of the trade which might help you when it comes to fitting your flooring. So today we're going to talk about three main types of flooring, your options for this. So we're going to talk about laminate flooring, which I'm sure that you are all previously familiar with. We're going to talk about engineered flooring, and we're also going to talk about LVT, which has become very popular over the last few years, and for good reason. So we're now just going to spend a little minute talking about the benefits and the differences between each one and the different levels of preparation that you need to make when it comes to installing your floor. Okay, so we'll start off with laminate flooring, the stuff that you can see here on my board. Probably something that you're all previously familiar with. You've either got it or had it in homes, been around it plenty. And the one thing I will say is modern laminate is much better than the stuff that you probably grew up hating when it first came out. The stuff that always cracked and came apart and caused you many problems. Modern laminate is very different. You can get some really high grades of it. You can get some really, really nice styles where it looks like wood, it looks like tiles, looks like marble. And depending on how much you spend and what manufacturers you go with, laminate flooring should definitely still be an option for you for your renovation. Okay? Engineered is probably your higher end floor covering. Okay? So this comes in various different options, various different thicknesses. The main two being whether it is a floating click fit system, which would be similar to the installation of laminate, or whether it is a glue down product. Okay, the glue down again will take a lot more preparation, a lot more work to actually get it down, but it is a more stable product once it is in place. Okay, and LVT stands for luxury vinyl tile. Okay, this has become very popular within the last few years for good reason. Okay, it is an alternative to your wood-based floors, your laminate and your engineered. Okay, it is a plastic product. What you get as this for the benefits of it, number one, main benefit is speed of installation. Okay, you need a minimal amount of tools for fitting LVT. It can actually be cut with a craft or a Stanley knife, cut and snapped like you would do a plasterboard. Okay, the other benefit of it is in areas like a kitchen or a bathroom, it is waterproof when it is laid. You won't get any problems or any bubbling if you were to spill a bucket of water over it, or if the kids leave a mess when they get out of the bath. Okay, now all of these floors need various levels of preparation before you go to install them, and you also need to think strongly about the underlay if it's having one. Okay, first of all, with a laminate and an engineered floor, when I'm talking about a click system, so not the glue down engineered, but the click in engineered, which again is a very good product. What I would say to everyone is don't scrimp when it comes to your insulation, your underlay. If you get a good quality underlay, you will definitely elongate the life of your floor. It will feel more luxurious, and it will feel like you've bought a better floor than you actually have. Okay, the one that I love and I recommend very strongly is like a 5mm fiberboard that you buy in packs. That stuff is absolutely brilliant. It's moisture resistant, all those things. So if you're going to lay a nice quality laminate or an engineered floor, a good quality underlay underneath is definitely highly recommended. If it's a glue down system, obviously you don't need any underlay underneath it, because you're going to be gluing your floor direct to your sub base. It is then very important that you get your sub base absolutely perfect. Otherwise, any discrepancies, any humps, bumps, high spots, low spots will reflect through in your flooring over time, and it can deteriorate when those areas are walked across. LVT is probably the one that needs to make sure that the preparation work beforehand is done most carefully and most properly. Okay, it's the quickest to fit. It's definitely comes in all different budget ranges from high end to low end, so you can definitely get a nice quality LVT to fit your space, but you do need to make sure the preparation is done perfectly. If it is going down on top of a concrete floor, you need to make sure that that floor is absolutely perfect and level, and the best way of doing that is with a self-leveling compound, a screed or a latex. Okay, Very easy to do. There are obviously walkthrough videos on how to do that online on YouTube, things like that. But if you're going to put an LVT down, you need to make sure the surface is perfect underneath. If you're going on top of existing floorboards and you've got some discrepancy, some movement in those, what I would recommend you do then is add a layer of 5mm plywood across the whole floor, screwed down every 6 inches apart. Draw yourself a grid, plenty of screws, because any movement in that floor underneath could result in cracking in your LVT on the joints in the future. That's because it's a very, very thin product, okay? LVT starts at around 3.6mm, which is not big at all. It works on an interlocking joint system, but it is only as good as the sub-base, what it goes down on top of. LVT, in comparison to the other ones that I've talked about, when it comes to underlay, the good quality ones, the more high-end versions of it, will have a built-in underlay on the back, so you don't need to add an additional underlay. If it is more of a budget one that hasn't got this built-in underlay, you want to make sure you're only adding a 1mm underlay underneath that is specifically designed for LVT. Don't be confused and think that if you put a thicker one in, it will actually help you and have a better floor. It will actually have an adverse effect, because what you'll get then is compression on your underlay, which will cause the plastic joints to break in the future. So these are all things to bear in mind when it comes to choosing your floor. Right, so we're going to look at a couple of installation videos now. Firstly, for some 12mm laminate. And this is a very impressive guillotine that can cut up to 12mm of laminate flooring, which makes the installation an absolute dream. So this is me now working in real time, not sped up footage, of laying some straight plank 12mm laminate flooring. Now, there's a few things I want to point out to you here. And that first one is, why have I started on this wall here? Okay, so the orientation of which way you lay your floor is basically governed by making the room feel more spacious, making it feel bigger by running it towards a light source. In this situation, there is a bay window over here somewhere. So I am running the flooring in line with the bay window to make the room feel bigger and feel more spacious. If you're running your floor through several rooms, what I would then recommend is that the room you are going to spend the most amount of time in, you use that room to choose the orientation, the design, the way that you actually lay your floor. I've started on this wall here for 2 main reasons. One, this wall was lovely and square, lovely and flat and parallel, so that I know that as I worked across the room, I'm not going to be working to any sort of an unsquare surface. I'm not going to end up with flooring on the wonk by the end of it. And also, I know that in the future, I was going to have to do that hallway too. So working from that wall, from that doorway, gave me the easiest transition to get through from one room to the other. And I worked off that square wall. I worked from right to left because it works that way best for fitting the female to the male joints in the flooring. And the beauty of fitting a straight plank flooring, whether it's engineered LVT or laminate, is the minimal amount of waste. Now, the reason why there's a minimal amount of waste is because you can actually use your offcut from that end, where you get to start this end. The only thing you need to take into consideration when doing it is to make sure that your joints aren't too close together. Too close together would be governed by the thickness, the width of one board. So long as you are more than the width of one board away from each other in your joints, you won't have any weak points or any problems that will be caused by laying it this way. When laying a floor like this, be doing it straight plank in this fashion, you only need to add about 10% of waste from cuts onto the overall square meterage of the room to get how much flooring that you actually need when you purchase it. And whether it's a laminate, an engineered or an LVT fitted in this fashion, as you can see, you end up with a lovely finish flowing into the light source and making the room feel lovely and spacious and luxurious. Now, I'm bringing you on to the dreaded herringbone fashion. Herringbone is this one here, okay, this style of flooring, as you can see. This has become increasingly more popular over the last few years, and it's something that we as fitters dread when people mention it. Not for any other reason than we know it takes a lot longer to do, it takes a lot more waste, but I have got a very helpful tip, a trick of the trade, as some might call it. on how best to start your herringbone flooring to give you a minimal amount of headaches when fitting it and ensure that your flooring looks beautiful and looks nice and symmetrical to your room. What I am doing here is I am making a triangle. I fit 3 lefts and 2 rights together in normal fashion. I put a straight line through the intersection from that corner to that middle point there, and I cut all the way across that line to create a triangle. It was a little bit more difficult to cut than that, but for the purpose of the video, we have sped it up. But as you can see here, I've got a triangle, exactly what I've got here on this board. What you need to do is make enough triangles that you can span the whole width of your room. Okay, that is step number 1. Then what you need to do is actually find the center of your room. So measuring from one side to the other, find your center and put a line all the way on the floor going up from one side of your room to another. If you've got an underlay down and you're finding this difficult and you've got a laser level, obviously you can line the laser up so that becomes your center line, or you can use a pencil and a normal level straight edge, or even a chalk line to create that. But you need to make sure you've got your center line in place before you fit your first triangle to the wall. So here it is, I'm just making enough that we can get across the wall, and then I'll show you exactly how we start. Now, a common mistake that people make when installing their triangles, when they're doing their herringbone floor, is they think that this point of the triangle should line up with the center of the room. That is actually not the true center of this. What you need to do is find half the width of this board and make a mark. Find half the width of the board that joins it and make a mark. Connect them through. That line is actually the center of this triangle, the true center. The reason why this is really, really important is because if it's not running true to your center, your room won't be symmetrical. And what you want is you want the offcuts on the left and the offcuts on the right to be exactly the same. And this here is exactly how you do that. So as you can see here, look, half the width of board A, half the width of board B, and I've lined that through with the center. That gives us the true center of our herringbone. From there, it is just a case of aligning your triangles along the wall and filling in your space all the way until you get to your edge. The beauty of doing it this way is it means that your lefts and your rights are exactly the same. Your offcuts down either side will be exactly the same measurement, which is exactly what you want. That way, when it comes to filling in all your cuts at the end, which is the most time-consuming part of a herringbone floor, it means that you've only really got to take the measurement once, cut yourself a load of pieces, and then get down on your knees until they hurt and fit all your offcuts. It makes the fitting process a whole lot easier. Now, I've been asked this question already today, and I'm going to talk about it just briefly here now. I get asked often, is it best to fit the floor before the kitchen or the kitchen before the floor? That one comes down to personal preference, and personal preference only, really. If you're buying a very, very luxurious floor that's very expensive, you might choose to save some money on the supply of that by not fitting it underneath all your units. It's a floating floor, so it's perfectly fine to be able to do that. You can save several hundreds of pounds by doing that. If you decide that you think that you're going to buy a more budget end kitchen and you might want to replace it in a few years' time, but you want to spend lots of money on your lovely flooring and you want to fit your flooring first because you know that it's not going to be then governed by the shape or the design of your kitchen, you can fit your kitchen on top of that flooring. But it's something to bear in mind when it comes to it. Which do you think is going to be the best option? If you do decide to fit your kitchen first and do your flooring second, leave off the end panels, leave off the plinth so that you can go right up to your unit legs and to the sides of your unit, and then when you put all your fittings on at the end, it does make it seamless and you'll never know that one's fitted before the other. And you end up with a lovely finish like that. Have you got any questions? Anything I can help you with? Yes. Well, thank you very much for your time, everyone. If you just want to have a look at the 2 speakers that I've got up the front here, there is a QR code on those speakers. If you scan the QR code and sign up to the Why Doctor newsletter, you'll win with a chance of winning this fantastic tool bundle before the end of the day. And there's lots of things in here that can help you with upcoming projects. Also, next time you find yourselves on YouTube, if you subscribe to the DIY Doctor, you will find lots of videos that can help you with your product, with your projects, including all of today's demonstrations are being filmed to put on the channel. So if there's anything you missed or anything that you might want to go back to, it will all be on there within the next couple of weeks. Brilliant. Thank you very much.